Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. Now, we've been getting a lot of requests recently about Canelo Alvarez, the pound for pound rankings, and if he should be number one pound for pound after the Danny Jacobs fight. And, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking is, you might have different guys at number one, or you might feel Canelo Alvarez is number one. So let's just break it down and be unbiased about it. And so if we dig right into it, I think that Canelo Alvarez, it's either Canelo Alvarez or Terrence Bud Crawford is the number one pound for pound fighter right now. I look at Canelo Alvarez and I see him. His record is 51-1 with 2 draws, 35 knockouts. And then you look at Terrence Bud Crawford, who is 34-0 with 25 knockouts. I have these guys as my number one and number two pound for pound. These guys are interchangeable. So I understand that a pound for pound list is very subjective. And I understand that you could put either guy at number one based on your preference of the fighters. Both of these guys are elite. Both of these guys are transcendent champions whose talents transcend weight classes. I see both of these guys as being top level superstars, elite level talents. But the thing is, Terrence Crawford has become undisputed at 140 pounds, dominated the entire division, won all the belts. Canelo Alvarez has beaten different type of level opponents in different weight classes, win belts in different weight classes. So Canelo Alvarez has done a lot, and his resume is arguably better than Terrence Crawford's. Terrence Crawford, one thing that he has over Canelo has to be the fact that he's become undisputed. Canelo Alvarez right now is on his own road and journey to become undisputed himself. So these two fighters have to be 1 and 2 in my opinion. And I think a Danny Jacobs fight for Canelo Alvarez, should he be successful, I have a lot of people coming to me saying they believe Canelo Alvarez is going to stop Danny Jacobs, and I can see that happening. I see that that's a 50-50 fight. I see it's a very close and rugged fight. It's not an easy fight for Canelo, but if Canelo turns out and makes the fight look easy, if Canelo Alvarez outboxes, hurts, or stops Danny Jacobs, he has to get maximum credit, because at the end of the day, Danny Jacobs is an A-level opponent, a top-level opponent, a guy who has height, reach advantage, weight advantage. He's fought top-level fighters, same as Canelo. So Danny Jacobs is going to be a huge and enormous task for Canelo Alvarez. I believe Danny Jacobs is going to be even more difficult than Triple G was. A lot of people look at Triple G and say, oh, he's better than Danny Jacobs. Those guys had a very rough fight, and there was 2 swing rounds that you could have went either way that could have gave that Triple G fight to Danny Jacobs. Depending on how you saw the fight, you might have had Danny winning. That was a hell of a fight, and this is going to be a very close fight between Danny and Canelo Alvarez. Do not write off Danny Jacobs, but at the same time, don't think that Canelo Alvarez can't get the stoppage in that fight either. Now, if you look at Canelo Alvarez, is he number one after a Danny Jacobs fight? So if we're going to look into the future, and we believe that Canelo Alvarez has an edge over Danny Jacobs. So right now, I think it's a 50-50 fight, but I'm going to lean towards Canelo Alvarez to get the victory over Danny Jacobs. And in leaning towards Canelo Alvarez to get that victory over Danny Jacobs, I believe that makes Canelo Alvarez undoubtedly the number one fighter in the world, pound for pound, hands down. There's no question about it, because Canelo Alvarez already has a resume, and this is just another signature elite top-level win that Canelo Alvarez needs. He had some very close fights with Triple G. Some people felt they went either way, but I think beating a guy the level of a Danny Jacobs, unifying another belt, another elite level opponent, I think that just plants Canelo firmly at number one and ahead of Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford would then in turn have to beat someone to rise above Canelo Alvarez. So I think these guys are neck and neck, and I think that puts Canelo Alvarez at the top spot, head and shoulders over everybody else. I even had a few people come to me and say Vasyl Lomachenko should be number one, and I think that Vasyl Lomachenko is an elite level fighter, a top 5 pound for pound fighter. He's one of the best fighters in the world. He has an historic 396-1 amateur career. He's a special fighter. He's a multiple weight world champion. He's already beaten the likes of Gary Russell Jr., Nicholas Walter, Guillermo Rigo, Jorge Linares. So he's already done a lot. But at the end of the day, Vasyl Lomachenko has not done as much as Canelo or Terrence Crawford. He's never been undisputed. He's never went through the elite level resume that Canelo Alvarez has. And although he's a special talent, we just believe that Vasyl Lomachenko needs another signature win before we can put him in the top 3 spot with Canelo or Terrence Crawford. But at the end of the day, he is top 5 pound for pound. I just have Crawford, Canelo at the top. I can understand people making an argument for Usyk. Usyk has become undisputed, and that's a tremendously difficult thing to do. You can put Anthony Joshua up there. He's done a tremendous job. A lot of people don't put heavyweights in their pound for pound. I think Anthony Joshua has to be considered pound for pound. He's 22-0 with 21 knockouts. He's unified every world title except for the WBC, and that's clearly because the guy's avoiding him so intently that he leaves $100 million on the table. So at the end of the day, these guys are all competitors, but I think the fact that Canelo Alvarez, if he can get past Danny Jacobs like I believe he will in a very close, tough fight, I think Canelo Alvarez should ultimately be number one pound for pound without a doubt, without a question. And at times now I can have him number one pound for pound or Terrence Crawford. It just toggles. But if Canelo Alvarez gets past Danny Jacobs, there will be no toggling. There will be no doubt. Once again, Unbiased as always, it's the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.